Thank you. Well, thank you so much. I'm a true blue believer in chiropractic. Craig happens to be my personal chiropractor. I've been to so many chiropractors over the years just to see how good you are. I remember when I ran for president, I ran all over Iowa and, of course, stopped at Palmer. I think I had 3 or 4 of them treat me at the time, and it was a lot of fun. And it was a lot of help, too. I remember, as I mentioned upstairs, that I was a medical liability defense lawyer in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, defending doctors and hospitals and healthcare providers and nurses, and know a lot about that particular part of the profession. But I remember I was a Mormon bishop out in Utah and presiding over a congregation. The Mormon Church is the only church in the world that has a completely unpaid ministry and missionary system. So we're called to preside or to be in various jobs, from Sunday school teacher right on up, from home teacher to right on up to bishops, stake presidents, and even general authorities. Nobody's paid for teaching the gospel. We usually serve 3 to 5 years, and I was a Mormon bishop at the time, presiding over 600 people. And of course, this one day, I woke up in the morning, and I was in a very important trial, in the middle of a trial, and I couldn't get up. And I rolled off the bed on my knees, and I couldn't get up from there. Now, I had represented doctors in medical liability cases, and I was a little bit afraid of chiropractors. This was many, many years ago. But we had one in our congregation named Gene Hawkins. And I thought, I got to do something. I can't even get up. And I've got to try this. I've got to finish trying this case. So Gene lived a few blocks down the street, and my wife called him, and he came right up. He gave me a few adjustments right on the bed. I got up, walked, and went to court and won the case. And I've been a believer ever since. It helps to know it helps to know some of you as great chiropractors. Craig is my personal chiropractor. He's done a terrific job of keeping this old body in shape and free of a lot of difficulties. I have 2 sons-in-law who are chiropractors and 1 grandson who is a chiropractor. And I'm very proud of them. I'm very proud of them. They help a lot of people, as do you. So I'm a great believer in chiropractic. I also believe that if we wanted to contain healthcare costs, one of the best things we could do is recognize this profession far more than we do, and have this profession take care of an awful lot of primary care. Now, I don't want to say anything unkind about the medical profession, but we all know that almost all of the basic doctors are good at giving out prescriptions and prescription drugs, not necessarily with helping people with their musculoskeletal problems or even some other problems. We could save an awful lot of money and an awful lot of health in this country just by utilizing your services. I'd like to push us towards that. It's very difficult because, as you know, there's a real competition, and the medical profession does not want to see the chiropractic profession elevated. And there are occasional chiropractors who go way beyond what they should and get the whole profession into trouble as well. And some make promises that really cannot be fulfilled. So you have to be very careful what you do. The profession has to be not only sophisticated, but has to be a profession that does good, but does it the right way too. And I believe most of you fit in that category. It's no secret that Tom Harkin and I did the Dietary Supplement Health and Education Act. I remember the final day, it was right before the end of that particular Congress, and I was meeting with 2 old lions in the House, John Dingell from Michigan Henry Waxman, who's the most liberal guy in the whole House, but we had a good relationship, Henry and I. And John Dingell and I had a good relationship. And finally, Henry kept raising points and points and points and points. Finally, John Dingell said, "Henry, get out of the room." He said, "Orrin and I are going to do this deal." And we did. And we got it passed. It was literally at the last minute of the last day. And I won't tell you the rest of it, but it was kind of a miracle that we were able to get it passed, and it has done an awful lot of good. And DSHEA has done more for people in many respects than all the pharmaceuticals dispensed throughout this country. The fact of the matter is, it gave FDA more authority than it had before. More authority over the industry, and we now have arisen tremendous dietary supplement companies that are doing tremendously efficacious dietary supplements that help people, and a lot of you know a lot about that. So it's very, very important, but your profession is important, and I'm here to tell you that I support you. And I don't just support you because I've been supported. If I had to depend on the chiropractic profession to put me through the Senate every time, I'd lose every time. Not because I don't get help from you, but because it just costs millions of dollars for a senior senator like me to run. People can run on almost nothing against you, but you've got to have millions of dollars to do it. But I will always respect this profession. I will always be for you. I will try to do what I can to see that you're better recognized. I really believe that we can do so much more in primary care with your help than we're doing today, that people will be better off, and by gosh, they'll be healthier. Because you not only give them good chiropractic help, but you also push good dietary supplements, and most people would benefit from dietary supplements. That's why almost 150 million people in America today take dietary supplements. We all have to work at pushing the fly-by-nights out of the business who really aren't honest and who really don't do a good job. But there are so many really great dietary supplement companies today that it's not hard to make choices and to push the companies and the products that are really good. Let me just say this. We're living in a tumultuous time. This country's in real trouble. I mentioned upstairs that spending as a percentage of GDP has risen from 42% under Bush, and we thought that was high, to 74.2% under this president in just 3 years. And if it keeps going the way it is, it'll be over 100%, and we'll be Greece. The national debt as a percentage of GDP is 100% right now, and going up every day. The president's budget will put another $11.1 trillion into our national debt over the next 10 years. Now, we're at $16 trillion as we sit here, so you're talking about $27 trillion in national debt. If you think Greece is in problem, wait till you see what happens to us. And we're already downgraded because of some of the things that have gone on and the lack of good leadership in Washington, D.C. I've got to tell you, the left has controlled this place for the whole 36 years I've been in the Senate. I'm now the most senior Republican, along with Senator Richard Lugar from Indiana. We came together. And let me just this week, in fact, just yesterday, I got a National Journal magazine. Now, National Journal is one of the better journals in this country that really talks about politics. And they're making a point that I've been making for 2 years now. When this president took over, well, let me make it this way. When Bush got the 2001, 2003 tax rate reductions that really helped the economy, back in 2001, 2003, to get those, he had to agree with the Democrats to more welfare spending. When this president took over, the bottom 41% of all households did not pay a dime in income taxes. I thought that was horrendous. Today, 3 years later, it's 51%. So you have okay, thanks. I'll do it. I'll just make this one point. They're telling me I need to get back to the office. The office can do without me for a while, but let me just say, today it's 51%. Just in 3 years. 51% of our American families, this isn't just people, families, which is a lot of people, 51% don't pay a dime in income taxes. Well, the Democrats will say, but they pay payroll taxes. Everybody pays payroll taxes. Everybody. That's Social Security. However, 23 million of them get refundable tax credits that are far more than they pay in payroll taxes. In other words, money back from the federal government that's far more than they pay in payroll taxes. And about 15.5 million of them get refundable tax credits. In other words, money from the government's far more than what they and their employers pay in payroll taxes. Now, that's serious stuff. Well, then they'll say, well, Senator Hatch, you want to tax the truly poor, don't you? And I said, no. I think we ought to help the truly poor. We ought to do everything in our power to see that everybody in America has food, clothing, and shelter. I said, but you can't tell me that the bottom 51% of all households are truly poor, that all of them are. Now, certainly they shouldn't have to pay taxes the way the upper 49% do. And then you see this they're talking about the 1%. Think about it, the 1% in this country, the wealthy, they pay 37% of all income taxes. The upper 5% are over 50%. The upper 10%, you're talking about 75%. The upper 49%, 100%. Now, every one of us have to have an obligation, if it's only $1, to support our government and to help our country. Now, you folks are all taxpayers, and you're part of the 49%. But everybody in America ought to be doing something, if only $1. The truly poor, we want to always help. But you can't tell me all 51% of them are truly poor. But to do this, we've got to come up with a tax approach that really makes sense. Now, I'm the Republican leader on the Senate Finance Committee. That's the most powerful committee in the Congress. That's where all this bloated tax code is. That's where state taxes are. That's where capital gains taxes are. That's where Social Security, Medicaid, Medicare, international trade. The most important things we have is where 60% of all spending is. I'm very hopeful that the Republicans will take control of the Senate in this next election, and I'll become chairman of that committee. I will be the most conservative, fiscally responsible chairman in history. And I think every one of you, whether you're Democrats or Republicans, ought to be helping us to get there. Because we've got to turn this country around. We can't continue going down the trail that we're going right now. And as much as I personally like the president, he's leading us down that trail. To go from 42% of GDP in spending to 74.3 or whatever it is right now, it's in the 74 area. It's atrocious. And we've got to get things under control. And we've got to get America working again. We've got to get that bottom 51% doing their share as well. Maybe in a lot less manner, but nevertheless helpful. But we've got to get this economy going, and you don't do it through government jobs. You do it through the private sector and through good people like you who are willing to work hard, get educated, do the things you can, and to help serve in your communities. God bless all of you. I think the world of you. I'm for you. I'm going to help you. I'm going to do everything I possibly can for you. And I just want you to know that I've really appreciated the support I've had from the chiropractic profession over these many years. God bless all of you. Thanks so much.